I made a spontaneous turn to the SHAID for my wife's grilled cheese craving, not knowing it would lead me to my soulmate, a cat named Lenny. He's just too good to be sick, I thought, as my heart shattered when he fought to say goodbye. How did we get here? May 11th, 2024, my wife mentioned that she wanted to go into town and get some grilled cheese sandwiches from a local restaurant. I replied, "That is a wonderful idea, I love their grilled cheese." So we got into our Jeep and drove out. Casually, my wife said, "Hey, let's go to the SHAID, we haven't been there in a while." The SHAID is a pet rescue shelter. This was a common occurrence. It felt like every other day she was trying to persuade me to adopt another pet. I would respond with things like, "No, if the cats become self-aware, we will be outnumbered. And if we are getting another pet, it has to be something like a tiger or a panther." I just did not want to adopt a cat for the sake of adopting a cat. I wanted a meaningful connection that I was sure I would never find. On this day, for reasons unknown to me, I decided to make the right turn. Before I knew it, we were parked in the SHAID parking lot. "Okay, let's make this quick," I said with a sigh, already thinking this was going to be a waste of time. I kept pondering how I was getting further and further away from that delicious sandwich. We walked in and we were immediately greeted by the staff. We exchanged pleasantries and then they asked what brought us in. "Just looking," I replied, smirking. I was drawing on memories from previous jobs where customers would use that phrase as a knee-jerk reaction when approached. "I want to see the kitties," my wife said excitedly. She had been wanting to add a third cat since we got together 6 years ago, so I went along and browsed. Most of the cats were either sleeping or seemed disinterested. I did not blame them, in fact, I encouraged it. "That's right," I thought, "just stay where you are and we'll be gone before you know it." We entered a second room, and I turned to my left and noticed a pair of eyes staring directly at me. This dark-as-night creature locked eyes with me and slowly made its way to the front of the cage. Like a considerate person, I extended my hand for it to sniff. I thought it was a polite gesture. The creature began to meow, nuzzle, and purr against my hand. At that moment, just like in the movies, I fell hopelessly in love. We made a genuine connection. The next 2 hours were nearly a blur. All I remember is leaving the SHAID, going home to get a cat carrier my wife already had, a small blanket, and then taking her vehicle to adopt him. We learned his name was Harvey, but to us he looked more like a Lenny. We brought him home. We were very unprepared, so my wife suggested I stay in the bedroom with him while she went out to get some extra supplies. During that time, we hung out together. We had just met, but we were obsessed with each other. I told him how old I was, that I liked to play music, and the whole time he sat there meowing right on cue, keeping the conversation going. I discovered through the paperwork that he was 10 years old and that he had coughing fits, so we discussed feeling old and other topics typical of an old man. I had just celebrated a birthday nearly 2 weeks prior. Days later, he encountered some resistance from our other two cats, Simi, the lovable, happy-go-lucky girl cat, and Ebony, the epitome of darkness, with a royal, spiteful demeanor and the queen of the household. Lenny was curious and into everything he could see. He was definitely testing boundaries, searching for where he belonged within the hierarchy. A few weeks went by and we felt like a comedy duo. He would jump up and lay on my stomach while I played video games, and he would even lay on top of my head in bed, covering my forehead with his tail and belly. I named him Lenny Longfellow because he was extraordinarily long. There were times I would lie in bed doom-scrolling on Facebook or Reddit, and he would deliberately place his tail over my eyes, clearly signaling it was time to sleep. He wouldn't leave my side at all. For months, he remained at least a leg's length away from me. There were moments when if I wasn't petting him behind the ears in a particular way or stroking the top of his head to his back, he would slowly but firmly dig his claws into me. That was my warning: love me the way we both understood. Once we were playing and he clawed me quite good on my finger. My wife asked if I was okay, and all I did was smile and say, "Of course I am. I hope it scars, then I'll always have a reminder of him." He was incredibly intelligent as well. We suspected he might have been a retired or active spy. We would let him out onto our enclosed deck and he would jump over the railings and sniff the flowers. I did not like that, so we made the railings taller. It did not matter, he knew how to jump over them. He was exceptionally good at finding weaknesses in anything and would strike at the first opportunity. In the winter months, he became more of a mama's boy. I do not know if he was trying to make me jealous, but it worked. He spent more time with mama. I think she was bribing him with more food, and he was not snuggling with me as much. I figured perhaps I was being an overbearing dad, so I allowed him to come to me when he felt like it. Every once in a while, when I would place my hand next to him while he was lying down, he would place his paw over my hand and look at me with those big, beautiful eyes. It was as if he was saying, "It's okay, Dad, I still love you." Fast forward to March of 2025, the first weekend of March, and Lenny did not seem to be feeling well. He was quite warm to the touch and very lethargic. Monday came around and he had not improved, so it was time to see the veterinarian. After collecting blood samples, we found out that he had cat flu. That explained his high temperature. The veterinarian provided us with a prescription for him and instructed us on how to give it to him. I wish that was where the conversation ended. After a closer look, the veterinarian reviewed the other details of his paperwork. He was dangerously low on white blood cells, and his red blood cells were too. She kept showing us various metrics that indicated where a healthy cat should be, then drew a line to show where Lenny was. It was not even close. His body was fighting something and was losing. She suspected it could be an infection, so she prescribed steroids for him, along with other medications. She emphasized the importance of remaining hopeful because there were many possibilities, but she wanted to rule out the easier issues first. On the first night, we placed him on the counter, and my wife administered the medication and steroids while I gently held him down. At first, he struggled a bit. I mean, really, who doesn't resist when someone is physically holding them down? But after a few nights, he took it in stride. He simply relaxed and accepted what his body needed. I noticed he was not sleeping in the bed with us as often anymore. That was strange. The blood work appointments occurred every few days, showing some improvement, and then a week later he would show even more improvement, eventually reaching a point where we knew he was not out of the woods, but he appeared to be his normal self. Everyone at the veterinary clinic adored Lenny. There was never any doubt they were sincere in their affection for him. He was so handsome, well-natured, and easygoing, he was simply lovable. His blood work continued to show positive signs, so his next appointment was scheduled for a week and a half later. April 4th, 2025. My wife was working long, late hours at the office, and she finally came home around 8:30 p.m. "Hey babes, how was the rest of your day?" I asked while gaming. I received a call from the veterinarian. His blood work has deteriorated. He is worse now than he was when we took him in. My heart sank. I released the controller and got up. "What are you talking about? What do you mean?" We both began to cry. All we could do was embrace each other. The medications we had been administering were only temporarily stabilizing him, merely holding him together. We were approaching the situation with the belief that he was fighting an infection, but the cold and dark possibility of cancer may have been haunting us the entire time. It was unlikely, we thought. We were only acting upon what his blood work indicated. Despite this, he looked and acted so normal. I had never been in this kind of situation before, and everyone who knows me understands how I feel about loss. It just did not make sense to me that his blood work was so poor while he was acting normal. We speculated if he was feeling anxious and depressed when we left for work, which might have affected his health. We made a plan. I would stay home and work while my wife went to the office. We had new members who joined our team. We both worked at the same company, so it made sense. We had another appointment scheduled, hoping that by then his statistics would improve. Throughout that week, he had been lying within arm's reach of me. He occupied my makeshift work desk, constantly supervising and helping me by lying on my keyboard and mouse. He was somewhat slower than usual, but he was eating like a maniac. I thought, this has to have a positive effect on him. April 9th, 2025. The veterinarian collected his blood, and within 15 minutes she confirmed there had been a slight increase. He was now exhibiting 2 white blood cells per microliter, while a normal cat should have at least 250 white blood cells per microliter. His gums were also becoming paler. My boy was fading. We began to have the difficult conversation with the veterinarian. She assured us that she was with us 100% all the way, regardless of what we chose. She even mentioned she would consult with a blood specialist to see if anything else could be done. She informed us there was another test we could conduct to see if he qualified for a special treatment. The blood work would be sent to a different province and the results would arrive back on Monday or Tuesday. Great, I thought. We have a new plan and there is some hope. April 10th, 2025. Lenny woke up from resting on the floor and we fed him and gave him his medicine. He continued to help me with my work and throughout the morning he seemed a little sluggish. By noon I fed him and he devoured it. Okay, good, he was still hungry. He walked around, used his litter box and was on the prowl. Hours passed and while I was working I checked the time. I paused and tried to recall the last time Lenny was up on the table in front of me. I had the genius idea to place a non-plugged keyboard on the table for him to lie on while I used my wireless keyboard on my lap. I thought it was quite clever. I went into the bedroom and he was lying on a hoodie on the floor. I froze, my eyes were locked on him, he was facing away from me. I gently called his name and he barely opened his eyes to look at me, he hardly let out a meow. Oh no. I approached and started petting him, letting him know he was not alone. I was sobbing because I did not want him to be in this situation at all. It just isn't fair, he is too good, he is simply too good to be sick. I allowed him to rest for another hour, then opened a can of cat food to entice him to get up. He was completely uninterested. No, oh no. He was lying there, looking comfortable but not himself at all. He would have devoured that plateful of food just like the Black Panther I had known him to be. My wife arrived home around 8:30 p.m. after another long shift at the office and she saw him. She knelt down to see him better and started to cry. I got up and explained what I had observed throughout the day and that I did not expect him to deteriorate this quickly. She started crying even harder. We both knew what was happening. And what was worse was that he now knew he was sick, which was precisely what she had wanted to avoid. We had thought he would hold out long enough to receive the test results. However, my poor boy was quietly battling this unseen terror like a true gentleman. Weakly, he placed his paw over each of our hands, consoling us. It is not looking good, folks. We are completely devastated and broken. We understand what we must do tomorrow. I am going to have to bid farewell to my best friend who has loved me unconditionally since the moment we locked eyes. I just wish he knew how sorry we are. I was the hopeful one, wishing and praying he would manage to improve his statistics. I feel so guilty, feeling as if I was selfish in allowing this to go on as it did. I just did not think he would decline this quickly. Now my wife is lying next to him, covered with a blanket next to the side door. He will not get up and he will not let her get up. He is being the perfect gentleman, comforting us while we desperately wish to comfort him. I am so glad I made that turn to the SHAID that day. That was the greatest sandwich I never had. This might just be the longest and shortest night of my life. Story 2. After 15 years of marriage, I feel like the villain in my own story. You're selfish and judgmental, he says, while I struggle with depression and health issues. Am I losing the family I've fought for, or can love survive this chaos? The future feels uncertain. Some background for those who want a thorough read tonight. My husband, male, 44 years old, and I, female, 34 years old, have been married for 14 years and have 3 children, all 12 years old and younger. We experienced significant difficulties with our eldest son when he was younger, which strained our relationship. In hindsight, I believe it merely highlighted issues that were already present. We disagreed on parenting and discipline. I often intervened abruptly. While I now recognize there were better approaches for me to take and more constructive ways to engage in these discussions, I still feel I was maintaining boundaries and protecting our son. My husband became resentful toward me, and his criticism, judgment, and passive-aggressiveness increased. After we moved across the country in the United States, our relationship improved. A few years after relocating, approximately 4 years ago, after I had stopped breastfeeding our youngest child, he proposed the idea of opening our marriage. I was devastated. He had previously discussed allowing me to have intimate relationships when we first married, and it felt rooted in insecurity stemming from his ex-partner's infidelity. At that time, I told him no and reassured him while expressing how much it hurt me. When he brought it up again, I also said no, but he wore me down and essentially set me up with a male friend. We have been comfortable having friendships with members of the opposite sex and trust each other. It was a chaotic situation for both of us. Since then, it has happened a few times for me, always with his encouragement. This has caused problems. We have mostly been able to communicate through them, but he tends to use issues against me when he is hurt or angry. Even though I have allowed these situations to occur and enjoyed certain aspects of them, I have always struggled with the reality. While there are elements I appreciate, I find the actual sexual aspect lacking. I usually go along with what everyone desires. I know that this is not a healthy dynamic. I have attempted to explain this to him. He believes I am downplaying things to make them seem less significant, or that I can justify my feelings by saying I did not enjoy it or did not want it. However, it is the truth. I am deeply conflicted about it. I have only had one experience where I felt genuinely safe and that it was completely what I wanted. I have recently come to understand that I have some childhood trauma surrounding sexual assault, which has helped illuminate certain aspects of my struggles. However, he harbors a lot of anger and resentment toward me because he has not been able to have similar experiences. He blames me for being picky, for harboring biases against women, and for not supporting him. It devastates me that he does not see that I never wanted this situation. I did it for him, which he dislikes hearing because it induces guilt in him, preventing me from being honest about that. Or it manifests as if I selflessly gave him this, while it allowed me to have fun with others, which disregards all the struggles and pain I have endured throughout this ordeal. This is only one part of a fundamentally troubled relationship. At the core, whether it involves parenting, maintaining an open relationship, my participation in pickleball, or socializing with friends, I am seen as the villain. For a long time, I have told him that he has created this version of me in his mind, and that is who he despises and contends with. For example, today I expressed my lack of enthusiasm about a girl a friend is dating, and it resulted in me being labeled as selfish, judgmental, critical, and hostile toward all women. I became defensive because I desire a safe space where I can voice my opinions without being attacked or feeling like I must constantly keep quiet, navigating a minefield to speak perfectly or not at all, without being perceived as evil. He behaves this way with anyone, male or female. I can scarcely mention anyone without facing repercussions. I realize I should have only stated the facts and set boundaries, avoiding further escalation. Nonetheless, this illustrates how our interactions typically unfold. Then I am accused of preventing him from expressing his opinions by stating that I can have my own, and that I always have answers to his concerns while being considered unchanging and reflective. I genuinely reflect all the time. I process everything I do through a filter of second guessing, which likely explains why it hurts so much when my motives are questioned. I finally gained insight into the fact that, for him, this feeling represents only the tip of the iceberg regarding his perception that I dismiss women and that he has no chance. However, it frequently feels like I am engaged in an argument without all the information, and I become confused about why he is so intensely confrontational. I can innocently, without any tone, ask if a scrunchie in the car belongs to one of our female friends, and he reacts fiercely, claiming he has never treated me that way, assuming I am accusing him of hiding something when I was merely curious since I would return it to her if he confirmed it was hers. The same situation arises with parenting. I have struggled significantly over the past 3 years with depression and health issues. At times, I have been productive, while other times, I have battled severe depression or pain and could hardly function, doing just enough to manage the children and household duties along with my job. Yet when he is upset about something or when I attempt to express my feelings, regardless of how carefully I phrase or present my concerns, I face backlash. For instance, I told him how I am struggling to give all 3 children adequate attention after school due to numerous simultaneous demands, and he has no advice or encouragement, only pessimism. When I am trying to get the children to bed and struggling, he makes a passive-aggressive remark toward me, and when I point out that I don't find this helpful or kind, he responds defensively. He never offers advice and then reacts negatively. He possesses a cache of criticisms to hurl at me, such as claiming I play too much pickleball, that I struggle with depression and sleep but have no issue staying out until 3 a.m. with friends, labeling me a liar and hypocrite and calling me selfish. He believes I am exploiting him, his finances, and his work, living a life of luxury while barely working, suggesting that if he put forth as little effort as I do, he would be fired and viewed as a failure in society for failing to care for his family, while implying it is acceptable for a woman to do the same. We both live quite freely and share a friendship group, with some individuals being closer to him and others being closer to me. I have had better connections with male friends, and they are very respectful of our relationship, as are our female friends. He knows that I enjoy occasionally staying up to watch a movie with friends and that I appreciate being able to embrace my identity after years of isolation and difficulty forming friendships. We have reached a stage where we can be okay with that for each other. I am a night owl and thrive in social situations at night where I feel carefree. I used to be in a book club for mothers, and after going out to dinner and returning home by 9 p.m., I often felt devastated by the lack of closeness I had with them and the absence of shared interests. However, I eventually found people who connected with me. Nonetheless, this aspect of my life has also been manipulated against me. I feel like I cannot do anything right. He harbors immense anger and resentment toward me. I used to suppress my feelings when he would become emotional and required tending to, but I no longer do that. I can see how unhealthy it was for me. I feel that our relationship only functioned when I was codependent, shutting down whenever he exhibited passive-aggressive behavior or attacked my character. I would withdraw, and he would re-engage a few days later. We have attempted couples counseling, and I have also participated in individual counseling. He attended 2, albeit intermittently, attending only once a month or longer between sessions for a total of 8 sessions. I do not feel that it helped him address any issues in his life. I have urged him to seek therapy for years, hoping he would learn to love himself so he could fully accept the love I offer him. I do not feel that these counseling sessions worked on anything specific. It appeared to be only a platform for venting with occasional guidance. I wish he could have recognized some progress so he would feel motivated to continue. I have contemplated leaving, and I have considered creating a shared schedule at home. He is at work for 2 days each week, which would allow me slightly more manageable time with the children for 3 days, followed by 2 days with him plus 1 shared day. I have friends with whom I could stay, making it easier if I decide to leave, but I do not want to abandon my children and family. Thus, I think a shared arrangement could be effective. I would wish to give him space and freedom without feeling the need to monitor his every action during his time away from work, yet coordinating that proves challenging. We cannot afford any additional expenses. I carry a great deal of pain and hurt, but I still love him. It devastates me that he hates me and that he makes so many hurtful statements toward me. Starting over with nothing is daunting. Not 15 years of work experience, not a steadily increasing salary, nor contributions toward retirement. It all belongs to him and is viewed as his alone, which seems absurd to me. I understand the warnings given by older divorced women, yet it feels too late. Furthermore, I have a neurological issue and spinal problems, both of which will likely require surgical intervention. I even postponed shoulder surgery for years because I could not manage 6 weeks of caring for our children alone with one arm, sacrificing my surgery opportunity so he could have his procedure instead when he injured himself more severely while I was arranging mine. I also stopped attending college to support him during his military service and to dedicate a year to being free from work so we could spend our leisure time together. That future is quite frightening, not only concerning taking care of myself and my children, but also regarding how we all can proceed and remain healthy and happy. It breaks my heart that the strong values I hold regarding family are collapsing, shattering the dreams I have always envisioned for our family as we grew and experienced life together. This is not at all what I wanted. I do not wish to leave. I do not want to separate. I simply do not know if it is the only remaining option. Perhaps space would help him understand that I am not the adversary. Perhaps he would seek counseling or his heart might soften. Or maybe he could just grow even more resentful toward me. Does anyone in a long-term marriage or who has faced similar struggles have any advice? My ultimate hope is that we can heal both separately and together, to love and appreciate one another and enjoy the blessings of our family and the 10 years of arduous work we have put into it. Story 3. After uprooting my life to support my boyfriend's career, I faced the harsh reality of his indifference. Engagement isn't a priority. Now, lost and questioning my choices, I'm torn between loyalty and my desperate need for stability. Is it time to leave everything behind? About 2 years ago, I, now 27 years old and female, left my friends, family, and a job I enjoyed to move across the country to continue my relationship with my now 29-year-old male boyfriend. I am now questioning that decision and wondering if I want to continue down a path of uncertainty and empty promises. My situation is unfortunately a bit complicated and requires some context. I have been dating my current boyfriend for 4 years now. 2 years ago, he was offered a truly amazing job with a company he had wanted to work for his entire life. It is worth mentioning that it was a 1-year contract with a high likelihood of an extension for about 2 years. My boyfriend was clear that he was not willing to give up this opportunity, nor would I have wanted him to, as it could very well lead to even better opportunities for him in the future. We discussed it and agreed that long distance was not really an option given the circumstances, as there was no real guarantee he would be moving back in a year or longer. Since we had already been together for 2 years at that point, the longest I had ever been in a relationship, I felt comfortable making the leap and moving with him. So we moved, or rather he moved and I accompanied him. It was hard at first and still is, I will get to that later, but I was eventually able to find a new entry-level job in a field that I hope to excel in. Our relationship was and still is quite solid. We are both homebodies and prefer to mainly spend time with each other, with some occasional outings with small groups of friends. We are both more on the introverted side, but I made more of an effort to go out and meet people in a new city. Fast forward to now. I recently lost my job and I am struggling to make sense of the past 2 years and why I moved here in the first place. About a week ago, we had a very difficult conversation regarding our relationship, which I will refer to as the talk. I should clarify, I have always been upfront with my boyfriend about my expectations concerning our relationship. I began bringing up engagement and rings around the 2-year mark, and he even went so far as to purchase a ring that I liked. However, he always stated that he did not plan on getting married anytime soon. He wanted to move back to our home state, closer to friends and family, and finish his master's thesis, etc. I suppose I kind of deluded myself into thinking he might be more open to or warm up to the idea of engagement, since it is not as high commitment, but still signals that he intends to marry me in the future. Well, I was mistaken. Back in August of last year, he admitted that getting engaged was not a priority for him. I was beginning to struggle at work around that time and was also starting to worry about our long-term relationship plans, so I foolishly issued him an ultimatum: either figure out how to make our relationship a priority or I would leave, essentially propose or it's over. The date we agreed upon came and went, and I did not stick to my guns and chose to stay with him. Essentially, I relented and agreed that it was wrong of me to give him an ultimatum in the first place, which I still mostly agree with. When we had the talk, I emphasized how significant it was that I dropped everything to be with him, and how much it hurt that he did not see that as valuable or as a significant commitment in and of itself. He seemed somewhat shocked that I felt that way and initially tried to point out how supportive he had been of me by doing things like driving me around, listening to me vent about work, and cleaning the apartment. For context, I do not have a driver's license but have always been able to navigate cities just fine using public transportation and cycling. This honestly pushed me over the edge. I told him that at this point, marriage was not even on the table anymore because I was unsure if I could trust him not to take every little thing he had ever done for me and use it against me when I brought up valid concerns about our long-term compatibility. He has since apologized for bringing this up, but it illustrates where his mind was before we had the talk. At that point, I expressed my uncertainty about wanting marriage anymore, and he finally began to discuss his own feelings. This is where some context regarding my boyfriend's background is necessary. Before me, my boyfriend dated his first girlfriend for 5 years. They were engaged when they broke up. To be clear, I knew about this relationship as I was friends with him at the time. We met almost a decade ago and have been friends ever since. I was there when their relationship fell apart and supported him through the breakup, as I had been through more than my fair share of difficult experiences by that point. This is where you will probably judge me. We got together 6 months after his first relationship ended. There was zero overlap but still not much time to process things. He was the one who asked me out first, and I initially declined because I was concerned about losing an important friendship if we ever broke up. I eventually said yes, and we have been together ever since. During the talk, he mentioned that because he had been engaged before and it had not worked out, he no longer viewed engagement as special. This honestly shocked me to my core, as it was the first time he had ever expressed that sentiment to me, knowing full well how I viewed it as an important step in our relationship, at least for me. That is what has been weighing on me lately. The idea that I could put all my hopes and dreams for the future on one person, only for him to see it as just another repeat of his first relationship. The real kicker, this is not even his first time uprooting a woman he is dating and relocating her without support to an unfamiliar city. He did that to his last girlfriend as well, and that ended poorly too. Now I am searching for jobs in a state where I have no reason or intention of staying, without many prospects, and I wonder how I reached this point. I acknowledge that I have no one to blame but myself for making the original decision and ignoring all the signs, but I genuinely wish my boyfriend had been honest with me about his feelings regarding marriage and engagement. It has reached the point where I am starting to have really dark thoughts about my future and capabilities. I have lost a lot of confidence in myself, both because I lost my job and because I cannot reconcile the plans I had for myself with my current situation. I have not made a decision to leave him yet, but it is becoming increasingly likely with every passing day, as there is essentially nothing keeping me here apart from my boyfriend. Job hunting is tremendously stressful as I still have expenses to cover. We have a joint account for shared costs like rent and groceries, to which we contribute proportionally, but besides that, we maintain separate accounts. I do not feel comfortable accepting any financial support from him, as there is no guarantee he will continue to support me, and I do not want to be dependent on him any more than I have to be. I have savings and an emergency fund in case I need to leave quickly for any reason. Ironically, I am typically a very independent person. I have a trip booked in a month to visit my sister back home. She believes I should leave him. To my boyfriend's credit, he has agreed that he needs to step up and accept at least some of the accountability for putting me in a somewhat precarious living situation with no real guarantee of long-term stability, and b, confront his issues and try not to let his past relationship affect the future. Since the talk, we have continued discussing things. My boyfriend states that he is committed to me in his own way. He wants to buy a house and live together when we move back to our home state, but that is more of a 3 to 5 year plan. I have told him before that I am uncomfortable discussing buying a house together if we are not married. I am honestly realizing that I never fully understood what his plans were for us. We have both agreed that we have no plans or desires to have children ever, so it is not as though he is keeping me on hold as a potential housewife. I also do not know if we can salvage our relationship. I have lost a significant amount of trust in him, but I am staying for now as I feel I need some source of stability. Call it sunk cost or gambler's fallacy. I am just very hesitant to leave because that would effectively mean ending a 4-year-long relationship with someone I thought I would spend the rest of my life with. However, I also recognize that I need to start doing what is best for me. My boyfriend has acknowledged that he has a pattern of being selfish in relationships, and even with a sample size of 2, it is hard not to see that he has a point. When I mentioned the possibility of me leaving and returning to my home city, he said he wanted me to start being as selfish as he has been. I am unsure how to interpret that. I suppose that is all I can express for now. I do not want to completely abandon all hope for our relationship, but I would be lying if I claimed I had not thought about how much easier it would have been for me if I had just stayed where I was 2 years ago. I need to find a way forward, if not for us, then for myself. In summary, my boyfriend finally admitted that he has not viewed taking the next steps, engagement, in our 4-year relationship as a priority. even after I moved across the country for him. Thank you for taking the time to read this. Story 4. My boyfriend grieves a childhood crush while I feel invisible. Sarah will always have a place in my heart, he said after her passing. Discovering his lies shattered my trust. Now I wonder, will I ever be the one to fill his heart? Can I find love in this chaos? My boyfriend, 36 years old, and I, 26 years old, have been together for almost 4 years. From the very beginning, I was very clear about my boundaries, particularly regarding keeping exes or past flings on social media. He agreed and removed them all, which made me feel respected. However, later I discovered that he still had a girl named Sarah on both his Instagram and Facebook accounts. At first, I did not think much of it because he told me they only dated when they were 13 years old. I assumed it was just a silly childhood thing that did not mean anything. Then months into our relationship, I learned that he had recently told a friend, just months before we started dating, that he still wanted to sleep with Sarah. That changed everything for me. It made me feel uneasy, and when I checked his search history, I saw that he had been looking her up. I expressed to him how uncomfortable I was with him having her on his social media, let alone checking on her, so I asked him to remove her. Instead of being understanding, he resisted and argued with me for days. His mother even had to intervene and tell him to remove her, reminding him that I am his partner now, not her. That was when he finally complied. I thought that would be the end of it. I believed he finally understood my perspective. However, months later, I found out that he had still been looking her up, checking her old pictures and tagged videos, just keeping tabs on her. He claimed he was just curious about what was new in her life, but it did not feel harmless. It felt like he still had lingering feelings, as if he could not let go. I want a boyfriend who is emotionally present and all in, not someone who makes space for another woman in the back of his mind. This made me feel disrespected. Then Sarah passed away. Honestly, I did not want to make it about myself, but the way everything unfolded caused me pain. When he told me she had died, he said he was not even going to inform me but felt guilty keeping it to himself. My first question was how he found out, because deep down I suspected that he had gone looking for information again. He became defensive and told me it did not matter because she had passed away. Eventually, he said a mutual friend had messaged him. I requested to see the messages and he delayed, but when he finally showed me, it was clear that some messages were deleted and the conversation between the two did not add up. It was obvious there had been messages erased. Then he claimed they had a phone call prior to the messages and went so far as to rename his mother's contact to pretend a call had taken place. That was shocking to me. He could not keep his story straight. He eventually admitted that he looked her up, discovered she had passed, and then informed the mutual friend. That moment devastated me, all the lies twisted together. Not only that, but when things were finally going well in our relationship, he still felt the need to check up on her. It made me feel like no matter how hard I tried, no matter how close we became, there would always be a corner of his heart that did not belong to me. It felt as if he always thought the grass might be greener on that side. He said he lied because he was afraid I would react negatively or think he had done something wrong by checking on a childhood friend. Then I read the message he sent to Sarah's mother and it felt like a dagger. This is what he wrote. Rhonda, please accept my deepest condolences regarding Sarah's sudden passing. I am sure you do not remember me. I used to go by Zach and I was friends with Jacob and Brandon. My mother even gave you a haircut once. Sarah and I dated when she was in 7th grade at Riverwood Middle School. We used to message on AIM and her username was Wotem846. Those were dial-up days. It was puppy love and only lasted for 2 months, but those 2 months have impacted my life profoundly. I remember her favorite song at the time was Hush Little Lady by Lil Romeo. We watched Resident Evil when it came out in theaters while being chaperoned by my uncle. Sarah was the first one who informed me that he was gay, and he ended up coming out of the closet not long after that. Since the relationship ended, I was always motivated to improve myself and then come back to impress her. Months turned into years and I would always try to keep in touch or keep tabs. I was incredibly proud when I saw she earned her college degree. I was even more impressed by her immense heart when she got involved in helping victims of human trafficking. When I watched Sound of Freedom, I thought of her with pride, knowing a true hero. I witnessed her big heart when her friend Fabian and her grandmother passed away, and she would remember them every year on their birthdays. She also demonstrated the kind of person she was by rescuing dogs and being so loving toward them. She deserves to be honored. I had not checked up on her in over a year, but then I remembered it is her birthday month. My heart dropped when I read the comments saying rest in peace and that she will be missed. What happened? How did she pass? My world has turned upside down since this morning when I found out. Everything seems gray to me now. I can only imagine how you feel. Sarah will always hold a place in my heart, and if you and Alex ever need anything, this is not an empty offer, please ask. I owe Sarah so much for the incredible impact she has had on my life. Reading that was embarrassing and painful, especially the part about Sound of Freedom. We literally watched that movie together. I was right next to him and the whole time he was thinking of her. Perhaps it is immature of me to feel this way, but it made me feel small, as if I were invisible. It seemed like he was holding on to a fantasy version of a person who was not even part of his adult life. It felt like he never gave up the idea of getting back with her. Even now, I catch him checking her mother's Facebook page. He claims it is because he still wants to know how she died, even though her mother has already chosen not to share those details. I feel as though I cannot say anything without being made to seem heartless because she is dead, but my feelings matter too. I have expressed to him repeatedly how all of this has made me feel, yet he now says I am being disrespectful for still feeling upset about it. We are in Canada, but we'll be heading to Texas soon where I live, and there will be a remembrance ceremony for her a few days after we arrive. He wants to attend. I do not think it is wrong, but I just feel uncomfortable and wish I did not. He is about to live with me and my family, and I do not feel as though my emotions have ever been respected throughout this entire situation. The worst part is that I cannot stop wondering if she were still alive, would he still be checking on her? Would he still be fantasizing about her while I am right here trying to build something real with him? He wants to dismiss all of this and says I am overthinking it. But I just feel disregarded, hurt, and unseen. He claims he never thought of her that way when we initially got together, but I find that hard to believe since I would constantly catch him looking her up. And this issue is no longer solely about Sarah. It is about trust. It is about how he continues to tell me to believe his words, but how can I do that when he breaks the promises and boundaries I set from day one? He has offered financial security. He is close to becoming a millionaire through cryptocurrency. However, if he cannot even honor his word in matters that affect my heart, how can I feel safe relying on his commitments financially? That worries me. Additionally, he is neither emotionally nor romantically present in the way I desire. I do not feel emotionally fulfilled. Although we have fun engaging in hobbies together, it is increasingly starting to feel as though we are siblings, not romantic partners. He shares his feelings with me when he is down, and I always try to be supportive, but when it is my turn to seek assistance, he responds with comments like, "What can I say or do?" as if I am simply searching for a solution. I am not. I just want to feel seen and cared for. He is addicted to marijuana. His hygiene is poor. He lacks a routine, does not work, and claims he does not need to because he is wealthy. However, I have expressed that I want a healthier lifestyle, waking up early, eating well, and exercising, and he shows no interest in participating in those activities with me. I am not sleeping well either. He stays awake until 3 or 4 a.m. making noise, and I am a light sleeper. This disrupts my rest, and my cortisol levels are extremely high from begging him to come to bed. When he finally does come to bed, he brings his gaming console and starts playing bright screen in my face, clicking sounds, and I just lie there, becoming increasingly anxious. We end up waking up at 2 or 3 p.m., skipping meals, and I have even felt lightheaded while sleeping from hunger. I am not moving my body enough. I feel as though I am rotting alongside him. He says this is what it is like to date a crypto millionaire. However, I do not believe his addiction to marijuana or phone usage will ever change. He is very engaged in politics, constantly doom scrolling, and honestly, if I were not around, I know he would be skipping meals and doing even less than he currently does. We both love snowboarding, and that is honestly the only reason I have remained here with him this season. However, even then, I had to practically drag him to go. He would be too tired to drive and too groggy to plan anything because he never prioritizes sleep or structure. There are many red flags, and I love him deeply. But I am starting to wonder if that is even sufficient. I do not feel loved. I think I am just holding on because of the feelings I have for him and the comfort of financial security. But emotionally, I feel alone. I do not feel valued or respected. Despite his continuous reassurances that I am, his actions seem to convey the opposite. Story 5. Trapped with my abuser at 25, I still live in the house where my mother chose him over me. "What are you talking about?" she said when I pleaded for help. "I keep my pain hidden while he roams free. How can a mother ignore her child's cries? I need someone to hear me. This is my story." I do not even know where to begin. But what I do know is that I have been carrying far more than any human being should ever have to. It all started when I was 8 years old. I grew up without a father, but honestly, I never felt like anything was missing. My mother gave me a great deal of love. She was affectionate and attentive. She spoiled me. We had our little bubble, just the two of us, and that was enough for me. I was an only child, and I was happy that way. Then one day, she met someone. Very quickly, she married him. That man became, to this day, the person I despise most in this world. I remember the first time she introduced him to me. I experienced an overwhelming sense of anxiety, almost like a physical reaction. Something felt wrong. I was so young, but I told my mother that I did not want her to marry him, that I did not want him to enter our lives. However, she was afraid of being alone, and now I understand that she was just trying to fill a void. But at what cost? When he moved in, I immediately felt uncomfortable. The atmosphere in the house changed. It became heavy and strange. I was cautious, but my mother seemed happy, so I remained silent. The problem was that she trusted him far too quickly, way too quickly. That is when everything started to fall apart. Whenever she left the house for work, she would leave me alone with him. Gradually he changed, he became more intrusive. He crossed lines that no adult should ever cross with a child. At first, I did not understand, I was too young. My innocence kept me from recognizing the danger, but it became a repetitive cycle. He began coming into my room at night. It became a twisted routine. I started experiencing anxiety attacks. I was scared. I isolated myself, but I still attempted to live like a normal young girl. I think I was in denial, or maybe my mind was protecting me. Still, one question kept resurfacing: why me? My mother saw nothing. He did everything behind her back, taking every tiny opportunity, when she was showering, in the kitchen, using the bathroom, to reach me. Each time, I felt as if I were leaving my body, disconnecting. One day, I do not know why, I decided to speak up. I approached my mother and told her what he was doing. I stated it clearly: he touched me. She looked at me shocked. All she said was, "What are you talking about?" I remember that moment so vividly. She told me to take the trash out. And before I left, I said, "If you tell him I said that, I will throw myself under a car." That was me pleading with her to believe me, to listen, to protect me. When I returned, she called us both into the living room. My heart was racing. He denied everything, of course, claiming he was just saying good night, and gently stroked my back. My mother believed him. I ran to my room, unable to even meet her gaze. And the worst part, he did it again that same night. He knew she would never believe me. From that point on, it felt as if she had chosen her side, and it was not mine. I will not go into every detail of the years that ensued, but it continued. I was trapped. Meanwhile, my relationship with my mother devolved into constant conflict. My stepfather did everything he could to pit us against each other, and it worked. My mother became violent, not just slaps, real violence. She strangled me, burned me, locked me up, and bit me. I still carry the marks and countless invisible scars as well. In my early teens, around 14 or 15, I broke down again. He was crossing too many boundaries. One day, I spoke to my aunt about nothing in particular, and suddenly I broke down in tears and told her everything. She was shocked. And I finally thought, this is it. Things are going to change now. I confided in my aunt, then my mother, then other relatives. I was convinced that this time it would finally be over, that he would be kicked out, that justice would finally be served. In the meantime, my mother had children with him. I have 4 younger brothers. They still do not know anything. I have never told them. But even after everything, nothing changed. My mother was angry, not at him but at me. She was mad at him for a moment. Then she brought him back into the house a few days later. She did not want anyone to know. She was furious that I had told the family, that I had exposed her secret. So I remained, living under the same roof as him, sleeping in fear, waking up anxious, feeling ill. I started suffering from full-body eczema. I felt as if I were suffocating. And I kept asking myself, how can a mother choose to stay with a man who harmed her daughter like that? I could have run away, I could have harmed myself, I could have exposed everything publicly, but I did not. And even now I feel as if what I experienced does not even matter, like no one cares. He stopped touching me, but he continued to open my bedroom door at night, trying to see what I was wearing. I ultimately installed a lock on my door. I told my mother, and once again she did nothing but mildly reprimand him. That was it. Today I am nearly 25 years old. I still live in that house. And I know some people may ask, why are you still there, why have you not left? Because I have been at rock bottom for so long. I have spent years in deep depression. Even basic tasks like working, saving money, or planning for the future, I cannot do it. Everything feels overwhelming. I feel stuck, frozen in time. Sometimes I wonder if I am trying to forget, or if I have simply learned to survive. When people see me now, no one could imagine what I have been through. I smile. I pretend everything is fine, but inside I am dying. I have become hypersexualized. I have turned into the worst version of myself, lacking self-love and dignity. I feel as though I only deserve the bare minimum. Even now, I still live in that house, with him, with her, with my brothers. And everyone acts as if nothing ever happened. My family, who knows everything, still interacts with him. They shake his hand. And I am here pretending to be okay. Sometimes I sit still, like I am now writing this, and everything hits me all at once. And I want to explode. I feel a rage I cannot even articulate, a pain I wish people could see, if only you could see through me. My mother still criticizes me. She claims I am not the daughter she envisioned, that I do not help around the house, that I always isolate in my room. And all I can think is, how dare she, after everything she allowed to happen? And yet I stayed, out of respect, out of fear, to avoid making waves. I kept quiet to protect her. I never ran away. I did not report it. I buried it. Then, as I grew older and began to understand the gravity of my experiences, when I started thinking more clearly, I resorted to certain actions as my way of seeking revenge. I was still young, but I was in deep distress. I tried to get to him in subtle, malicious ways. I would spit in his food, put chemicals in his drinks. I used his toothbrush to clean mold. I placed it in the toilet. It was not random. It was my way of attempting to reclaim some control. I was alone, no one listened. No one recognized my pain, so I tried to defend myself in the only ways I knew how. Because no one ever truly protected me.